Back in the year 14, a caveman named Lewis invented the first rock throwing contest at 120 rocks per second, and he noticed that it sucked. It wasn't as good as his friend Tony's 240 frame per second rock contest. I went out and got a bunch of wildlife with my Huawei P40 Pro 960 frames per second, something cameras just can't compete with. The magic was ours.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
As a little side test in this video, we're on the Nikon ZF, 40mm Tony 2, ND filter on, lights maxed out, darkness back there a bit, little light near a plant, and we're in rich tone portrait. I'm gonna switch over. Someone of you jabrones mentioned this thing, Nikon PC, which has a bunch of like Fuji film sims. I saw one, Canon 5D Mark II color science. Let us switch to that. Why, hello, Canon color science on a Nikon camera. Oh boy, oh, don't look at that light. Oh, the glasses. Oh, that's a bitch, glass tube bitch. Who looks better, Nikon rich tone portrait or me, Canon 5D Mark II? And should I buy a Canon 5D Mark II just to have that in our lives? I've been debating a full frame Canon DSLR. No one cares. Let's get to the footage. No one cares about the footage either. Oh boy. In this first scene, I saw Toad on the ground, put the phone down, little motion trigger box, pressed record. He stood there for a long ass time, but eventually he leaped and he slipped. You see that second leap? He slipped on a little thing. He's just like us. They make mistakes, just like you and me. But like, is a camera doing that? Can I do that with my DSLR? Oh, I'd have to press record in 240 frames. The ZVE1, oh, you do 960. Okay, you gonna motion trigger box that jumping frog? How are you gonna do it? Actually, you could just scare the frog and then end the recording. But that's mean, isn't it? Mean-spirited, you frog scaring freak. For the next bunch of scenes, we went to Riverdale Farm and we met a goat that came right up to the fence and he wanted us to pet him, and he was the cutest thing. My girlfriend, fiance, of course, she's an acupuncturist and she knows all these pressure points, and so like she felt this lump on the back of his neck and he was just in heaven. He was in utter heaven. She was squeezing that and he just kept swinging his head. He's like, oh my God, keep doing that. Oh yes. This was all in 960 frames per second, HD of course. Did I need that slow of a motion for a goat that was just sitting there? No, probably not. But I need it for other things and it's nice to have it. It's nice to have that. Are you noticing something? I don't notice anything in particular. I like Nikon. Why'd you do it, Nicky boy? It just all of a sudden does not track the face anymore at all. I didn't touch anything. There. Re-engaged. Yeah. I actually have 3 wildlife episodes filmed. One with the Sony at 240 frames per second, mostly with the 90mm macro. I got a bunch of bee fights. That was incredible. And then TT Artisans has sent us the 500mm Tony 6.3, and I used it on the ZF, filmed a bunch of stuff. You wouldn't believe this lens. This is insane. Best lens on earth, possibly, with a bunch of terrible downsides, but we'll get to those in the review. This goat, I definitely missed the timing on, the perfect moment, but he was leaping, they were leaping around. It was super dark in there. That's the problem with the phone. It's like low light performance of a blind moose. But here we have a goat leaping for joy. This one came right up to me. He was like, hey, buddy, you're exposed properly, right? I wasn't, and I pet him. And I do eat goat meat, and the hypocrisy was pretty real in that moment, but you know, you can eat a goat and pet it too. Doesn't mean you're a criminal. This was the worst timed leap because you have like a quarter of a second to get that shot, and it's like, okay, timing it, boom. I pressed it too early, so most of the magic, somewhat, I missed it. I missed a lot of that. Most people are pretty happy with 4K 60p, but those are like wedding filmographers. They're losers. They're filming human beings at a wedding, drunk, taking advantage of people who are loving each other. And yeah, you don't need like 240 for a wedding, but I'm doing wildlife and stupid human activities, rolling around in the grass. You wait for those moments. For me, there's a very noticeable difference between 120 and 240. The thing is huge. Imagine if I could do wildlife in 960 frames per second bursts. I would be having so much fun, but no actual usable camera can do that. Interchangeable lenses, no Sony. You have to go to older cameras. For some reason, they're all better. Here's a moment that would have been gone in a second and a half. You wouldn't have thought anything about it, but if we can slow down and take a look, we have two motorcycling hippies on their little unicycle things, full speed ahead. Other people just walking like losers. Oh, we're all together. Say you wanted to walk by a little scene. Wow, we have someone hugging. There's this guy eating unhealthy food. He has regret. There's a cyclist behind him keeping fit. The guy closest to us knows he's fat, but he's okay with it. Everything is so much more interesting in slow motion. Like that little look, that woman looking at her friend, that was nothing. That was a nothing moment that was just over in half a second. But when you slow it down, what the hell? Thanks, Nike. It's just somehow I keep turning my head and it loses my ass. And there, now it has me. Oh God, there's a box right here. Now, I don't mean to alarm you, but a butterfly flew past me. I was somehow prepared for it with my camera, just waiting to get scenes, and then I panned 960 frames per second. We got it.
Let me fly towards my hands, towards my hands. Let me fly towards my hands, towards my hands.
Was it the worst shot of our time? I could see your argument for it. It was more of an advertisement for that plowing company. It wasn't plowing. I don't even remember my own shot. To the untrained eye, you might have only seen, oh, he's just advertising for Avenue Road masonry. But really, it's the butterfly, the small thing in the corner that's flapping its wings. That's what we should be looking at. And it was a good shot. And since no mirrorless camera with a nice telephoto lens can do this, I got sparrows from 300 miles away from me, and it's not as good as it could have been if I could have got right up close to them. So it's like kind of annoying that I can't do that with the telephoto cam. It's only the wide angle, but whatever. And this does 7,000 frames per second as well. Those are harder to time, and you need a lot of light for those moments, but magic could be had. I didn't have any that day, but I tell you though, it's sad. Like if I want to have the most fun vlog possible, I would bring the phone. Then like pretty crappy actual vlog footage, the color science scares us, but then we switch over to a little B-roll 960 frames. It's like unbeatable. Like that's the most fun you could have versus way more expensive mirrorless that is doing less with more potential. You've seen that kid in high school. He's like, wow, you're so good. You do drugs, though. Why? You're so smart. Why do you sell them to your grandmother? What? That's not a business model. So grow a sack, Timmy. I am desperately awaiting someone to up the game to 480 frames per second minimum, but I would much rather see a nice 1,000 frames per second burst in give me 4 seconds at least. 6 to 8 would be nice for wildlife. Come on. This RX100 series does that, 4 seconds. And then the ZV-1 got worse, and then the ZV-1-2 removed it completely. I don't like the direction we're headed here. Cavemen shouldn't be beating us in how to solve this math equation. And then the caveman does it, and we're like, I guess we've learned nothing over the past 6,000 years, which is how old our Earth is. It's flat. God made it 6,000 years ago. I'll leave. How you do? You subscribing for more videos, and I'll see you in the next one. 960 frames is coming soon. Rich tone portrait, was that worse than Canon color science? Is this light reflection ruining your life? Let me know down below. I'll go.